All right, I'm recording. So Diane, would you like
Okay,
to initiate the proceedings?
sure. So, on behalf of MyTech, I want to thank you so much for being here today for the virtual treasures of the Lewis Music Library, which are tremendous. And our host today, describing all the great treasures, will be Nina. Uh,
Davis-Millis.
Davis, okay. I have had another, okay. There'll be Nina here today, sorry. And
All right.
so thank you so much, Nina, for being here today. And yeah, Nina, you can take it away.
All right. So Diane, thank you for inviting me. Um, I'm so happy to tell you a little bit about the Lewis Music Library, both as a real location and as a virtual resource. Before we get too deep into this, I want to say that I am recording this presentation. So if you don't want your voice to appear on it, you feel free, even when we start unmuting and talking, to send your comments into the chat. And my colleague Ashley Clark has very graciously agreed to monitor the chat so that if you have either technical problems or questions, you can send them in there and Ashley will gently, I hope, poke me and tell me. So there's Ashley. Hi, Ashley. All right,
Hi.
so welcome, virtually welcome to the Lewis Music Library. Let me tell you about me, first of all. I do know many of you personally, but not all of you. So hi, I'm happy to meet you now virtually. Amazingly to me, I came to MIT figuring I would be there 2, maybe 3 years. Yeah, that was in 1985. Been there this whole time. And initially, I was the music librarian at MIT. I did that for 6 years. Then I did a whole bunch of other things. And when my successor in the music library retired, I was asked to fill in as interim music librarian. And I've been doing that again since 2018. I do actually have my own permanent job at the MIT Libraries, which is Director of Community Building and Engagement Programs. And some of you may know me in the context of MIT Reads. If you don't, I'll be happy to tell you about it, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. So here's what we are here to talk about today. I'm going to tell you very briefly about the music library itself as a physical collection, as a physical location, and as a collection, and exactly what is in that collection and that room. Most of our time is going to be spent talking about our digital content, and this is all content that you as MIT community members have access to from home. I'm going to touch briefly on how to find ebooks and music materials, again, focusing on the virtual content that you might want to be looking for from home. There are particular challenges in locating music materials, and I don't want you to experience frustration. And then your questions and things you want to hear about. So here we are in the Lewis Music Library. It's a beautiful, beautiful space. It's located in Building 14, 14E 109. It's right across from the Department of Distinctive Collections, the Institute Archives, around the corner from Hayden. I always tell people you don't have to be a musician to use the music library. It's one of MIT's hidden gems. Of course, you are welcomed to come in and use our equipment, and I'm going to talk more about the equipment, but you're also welcome to just come in, take advantage of our comfortable chairs, our friendly, calm, but not tomb-like silent atmosphere. It's pretty cozy and nice. So the music, a lot of people are surprised to hear that MIT has a music library. We do. We have for many decades. MIT does have a music department. There are music majors at MIT. And of course, as I see it, our primary responsibility is to serve the teaching needs of the music section. The teaching activities of the music section do include support for a lot of performance activity. We also have a huge responsibility to support the musical habits of the MIT community, and that ranges from the many professional musicians who have all different kinds of jobs at MIT, the many amateur musicians of incredible talent who work and study at MIT, as well as everybody who just loves music. We've got a little bit of something for everybody in the Lewis Music Library, such as we have books about music, we have printed music, scores, sheet music, all kinds of printed music. We have compact discs and DVDs on musical subjects. I do realize that fewer and fewer people have CD players. Don't worry, we've got you covered. We have CD players and DVD players in the music library. We have headphones. And I am going to put in a plug for this. Earbuds and your phone, it's a wonderful convenience. We all love having music at our fingertips, on our computers, everywhere we go. But there is not the same sound quality as you get from a really good pair of headphones. And I especially urge younger listeners who may never have really listened to quality sound playback to come in and just pay attention to the listening experience. It's not the same thing. We have very few LPs, meaning vinyl long playing records, in the music library anymore, but we have thousands of them stored off campus. If you have never listened to vinyl, again, we've got you. We have turntables in the music library. It's a wonderful listening experience. It's an analog medium, so it's not as clean as the CD, but it's much more physical. People of my generation find it a preferable listening experience, no doubt, because that's what we grew up listening to. But I know a lot of 20-somethings who have gotten excited about vinyl as a medium all over again. So come in and check it out. Obviously, the Lewis Music Library is a small space. We do not have everything. So I will just briefly say that our collection is heavily biased toward Western classical music, but we do have quite a nice collection about jazz. The music section supports classes in world music traditions, so we collect a lot in different musical traditions from all around the world. We don't have a huge collection about popular music, but we do have some, so it's pretty eclectic. Now, also in the music library, we have some equipment that is very interesting. I already mentioned that we have all this playback equipment, as well as viewing equipment. We have some equipment for digitizing. So if you have a bunch of CDs or records or cassettes that you want to digitize, we have self-service equipment in the music library. You can do that for yourself. We have an audio lab that anyone at MIT can use, and we have a wonderful staff person, Forrest Larson, who can get you started and show you more about how that works. It's particularly designed for people who want to play with computer music composition and digital sound editing, but it's pretty great for podcasting. And there is a station all set up for podcasting, and anyone with an MIT active account can use that. We have some keyboards so that if you want to play music, you can come in and play. They're not connected to speakers, you use headphones. We have some equipment that you can borrow. This includes audio and video recorders of excellent quality. And we have some music notation software on some Macs in the music library. So that's a very brief overview. I'm not looking at the chat, but I can see that there's some in there. Ashley, do we have any questions? Or does anybody, let's pause and ask if there are any questions. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question or to send it in the chat.
So I have one comment from Marie that says use our VHS player a while back, which is great because I have needed to use those recently. And Stephanie says, can you use the music notation software at home or just at the library?
Oh, just in the library. I'm sorry. It is installed in a couple of different Macs, and there are some freeware alternatives, I think. If you're interested in that, I will share my email again at the end. I did at the beginning. You can email me and I will connect you with that information. Shall I continue? I'm forging on. Okay, now let's talk about the virtual stuff. Our website is the gateway to our virtual resources. And the reason I say this is not that I want to drive up our stats, but because pretty much all of what I'm going to show you are resources that we license. We pay money to make this content available to MIT. The vendors of this information will not let you in unless you can prove that you're from MIT. So coming in through our gateway will guarantee that your MIT-ness is passed along, with one exception. Some of our resources do require you to use MIT's VPN service. I was going to do that today. I tested it out before. It was very flaky. It kept kicking me off. So if I show you anything that doesn't work today, that's why.
I do have a question. How far back does the music go, year to year?
How far back does the music go? Meaning like music from what periods do we have in the library? I mean, we collect music, early music right on up to now, and we have been. So we have a very rich collection. The music library has been there since the 1950s. So I buy early music right up to things that are composed now. Does that answer the question? All right, I hope it
From
does.
early 1900s to today?
No, from about 1300 to today, in terms of printed editions and in terms of music that you can listen to. It goes, way back. All right. Here is our website. And I'm just quickly going to show you that there are two tabs here. This tab that says Study Spaces, Great Space and Equipment. There's a lot more information here about the audio lab and all the different equipment that I talked about. I'm not going to spend time here now because all of that is stuff that you have to go into the actual room to use. But let's go back to About Music Library. On this page, there's so much on this page. This music research guide, I'm going to scroll up a little bit. This music research guide has a huge amount of information, and in fact, so much that I think I'll just go directly there and we'll spend time talking about that. So there's my email address if you have any questions about any of this now.
I think we're still just seeing your PowerPoint, not the about.
I'm going to stop share and I'm going to share all over again, and I apologize for that. Can you see it now?
Yep.
Yay, all right. So let me just back up and show you what you missed. Man, what you missed was so great. So here is the music libraries page. Here is the tab that says study spaces, great space, and equipment. And again, this is what you'll find when you come visit us in the room in the fall when we reopen. Here's the About Lewis Music Library page. And I'm going to this music research guide. So I wanted to really focus on this part, which is about streaming audio and video, because this is where you can listen to music from home. And we have some pretty amazing stuff here. So here are services that we subscribe to that are streaming audio services. I'm going to start by looking at Naxos Music Library. And what it's doing now, remember I told you if you go in through our gateway, it will authenticate you as being from MIT. That's what that pause was. So in any moment now, there we are. Okay, now we're in the Naxos Music Library. You can see it knows that I'm coming from MIT. At this point, you can do a few different things. You can just browse and you can see there is a huge amount of different stuff in here. I have no idea how they pick what to feature in their albums, but there are all these categories here. New and news, categories, labels. You can do a search here. I do want to point out that there is the capability to make playlists. I will embarrass myself by revealing what I have, which is, well, not a lot. It's because I didn't log in. So if you create a personal login and go to it, then you can set up your own playlists. And if you install the Naxos client on your mobile device, then you can play your playlist from your mobile device. Now, full disclosure, I'm going to say I have not found their mobile app very dependable. I have found it to be pretty flaky, but I do know other people have just love it to pieces. So if you try it and you can't make it work, clearly I'm not the one to fix it for you, but we'll work with you on that. It does exist. So I'm just going to pick one of these and we'll just start playing something just so you can hear how great it sounds. I hope. Oh, there we go. Well, I am not hearing it, but that is probably because of the many layers of me connecting to Naxos on while I'm on a Zoom call. So I'm going to get out. That is a little disappointing, but it's okay. We'll just move on. The Naxos also has a jazz collection. Let's take a quick look at that. I'm going to tell it to stay on the old version, but the new version I'm sure is more beautiful. So again, just thousands of different jazz albums are on here. You can listen to them from home absolutely for free. It's pretty amazing. This music and performing arts collection comes from a different vendor.
We have a question about the Naxos for
Yes.
the mobile app. It looks like they need an activation code for the institution. Do we know what that would be or how to get around that?
Okay, that should not be happening. We will figure that out. If you are trying to set up the mobile app and it's asking you for an institutional code, email me, we'll work it through. That's the thing about Naxos. It is a little finicky, so you have to do it just through a certain sequence of steps, but we'll get you there. It will work for you. We're just not going to do it right now. I should have said the Naxos, the first one I showed, the Naxos Music Library, this one, that's mostly, again, Western classical music. But there is some world music and other stuff in there. Jazz, that one is jazz. Are there other questions coming in there, Ashley? I can see some activity in the chat. Oh, okay. So here is this music and performing arts. You can see it's a different vendor and it has these different collections. American music, classical music library. There are some e-scores in here. We don't have a lot of them, but if you're a musician and you're looking for scores, there are some available on there. We have opera in video and there's a jazz music library. I just learned that next year we'll have even more collections coming in. I think this one is going to insist on being on the VPN. I'm not 100% sure. So let's see. I'm going to try to get into the opera and video and it may not let us in, but we'll try. All right, so it's not going to let me in because it doesn't know I'm from MIT. It's a little bit of a tease, but you can see it playing in the background, or at least I can. So this one is pretty amazing. What's a little bit annoying about it is that you have to go from one of these collections to the other, but that is a small annoyance when you consider the enormous variety and quantity and quality of stuff that's in there. This last one, DRAM, that's Database of Recorded American Music. All kinds of music from, it's mostly North America. This ethnographic sound archives it's a scholarly resource, but if you're into world music, it's pretty amazing. It's field recordings from different ethnomusicologists. So, wow, it's not polished because these are field recordings, but if you want authentic sound, this is as good as it gets. So any questions about any of this stuff? Okay, then
Yeah, we just have a comment from Reed about the new IS&T VPN.
Yes.
I know that some people had issues with the new one, so I guess there's both. And that there's workarounds for some things, not the other. So if people want to play around with the beta VPN, there's the link in the chat to take a look.
Oh, that's great. I will look at that and try it myself. Thanks a lot. We do also have some streaming music video. All right, so Naxos Video Library, that looks just like that first Naxos I showed you, only it's videos in there. Medici TV is pretty amazing. All kinds of classical music, concerts, documentaries, just all kinds of stuff. I'm going to try to get in there and just show you a little bit about what there is. There we go. So this thing is just stunning. If it will cooperate, it's not very stunning if it doesn't do anything. Okay. So I am not sure why I'm not getting any audio. It's a little sad to be doing a music thing without hearing any music, but when you
Nina,
come on here,
when you choose to share
yes?
the screen, there should be an audio option to share audio as well. So maybe that's the audio issue we're having.
Oh, well, that could be. Let's see. I'm going to pause this. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to check that and see if I can. All right, I do not see any such option, and I'm not going to eat up our time doing that. I'm just going to go back to what we were doing and show you what there is to see. Confident that we are among friends and that you can all come back here and look at this stuff. The Metropolitan Opera has very graciously made their archive available free during this coronavirus period. That's pretty nice of them. But it will be available to you all the time. If you're an opera fan, this is pretty great. This digital concert hall, that's the Berlin Philharmonic. So that also is quite wonderful. And this is an opera in video collection. That's, again, it's from Alexander Street. It looks just like this music and performing arts thing, except it's all video. It's a video collection. The last thing on here I wanted to talk about is this link will take you to some streaming videos that aren't about music, but that are pretty great. We're running low-ish on time, so I'm not going to go there right now. Are there any questions or comments about the streaming things? That was a very quick overview. Okay, I'm going to back up now and say that I already mentioned locating music materials can be very challenging. During the time that we are all working from home, there's not a lot available to you from us in terms of electronic scores, but we do have quite a huge number of e-books. The libraries do, and more of them are about music. The libraries, very briefly, have a couple of different discovery portals. I usually recommend the classic Barton for finding music, printed music in particular. When it comes to books, I would say my personal recommendation is if you have a particular book in mind and you're like, oh, I wonder if MIT has this, I would use the classic Barton. This Barton Plus, this is the default search that you get when you go to the library's top level page. This will be Barton Plus. And this is a great search if you're just looking like, oh, I wonder what they have on such and such a topic. This is a great starting point for a topic search, but not always the best starting point if you're looking for a particular thing. So that, oh, we do also have this link about finding music materials in Barton Plus. On this music research guide, there's also a lot of information about finding journal articles about music. I'm not going to talk about this today. I will simply say it's very complicated. So if you're looking for stuff and you're not finding it, please do not hesitate to give us a shout and ask a question. I am going to stop this sharing and I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint. So I promised I would leave lots of time for questions and discussion, and I will. Here are the main things that I want you to remember. I don't know about the rest of you, but there are some days when I think, will I ever be back in the world? Will I ever have a life again? Music is a wonderful thing, and I urge you, if you ever have those dark moments, especially right after listening to too much news or whatever, listen to some music. It's really good for us. If you're looking for the things that I just showed you, please use our website, our access points to get to this licensed content, and remember the VPN service. It's pretty hard to find music stuff, books about music, articles about music, pieces of music. If you ever find yourself thinking, I can't believe they don't have that, maybe we really do. Please ask us. You can email me personally. You can also use the Ask Us service that's all over the library's website. Any one of those things will get you an answer. And finally, we will be back on campus. Please come see us in the music library. We are really nice, and it's a great resource for all of us. So that's pretty much what I had planned to say. So at this point, I invite you to unmute or send in your questions and ask me if there are things that you hoped I would talk about that I didn't. Anybody? Any questions?
Do you have any resources on Celtic music? So music from Ireland, Scotland, Canadian Maritimes?
I'm sure we do. The question, in case you couldn't hear it, was if we have music about the Celtic world, Ireland, Scotland, and other Celtic musical traditions. That is not an especial strength of our library, but sure, we do have some. Now, remember, the licensed streaming services that I showed you, the licensed audio, the streaming audio and video, those are commercial products. They're going to have a huge amount of stuff that is of interest to all kinds of people. So while I do not intensively collect Irish music, you can bet that those folk music resources and the Naxos library, there will be a lot in there. So I welcome you to explore. As far as our book collection, not that much, but some.
Thanks.
Other questions?
We have a question in the chat that says, what are some of your most prized and or historical collections of music?
Well, thank you for asking. So I am going to say that much as I have a long history with the Lewis Music Library, you must remember that there was a quarter of a century gap in there in which a truly great music librarian, a wonderful gentleman by the name of Peter Munstead, was in this role. Peter, I will say, is Peter's a scholar, and Peter also is a much greater collection builder than I. I really wish he were here to answer that question. So I will give you my take on this. So we do have in the Lewis Music Library a small but really very, very nice special collection. The really special items are housed with the Institute special collections, and they are not in the music library. And they include some medieval manuscripts, some beautiful illuminated rare items from the medieval period, as well as some eye-poppingly beautiful facsimiles. We have quite a few facsimiles housed in the music library. I would have to say that the thing that means the most to me are the materials that chronicle the work of our own music department. We do have some wonderful composers on our faculty. We, as part of the Ivy Plus Music Library Consortium, we participate in a joint collection agreement whereby all of these different music libraries have accepted formal responsibility to collect at an exhaustive level all of the published printed music by a list of composers. So we are responsible for collecting the published output of MIT composers, as well as several dozen other composers who have no particular MIT connection, but are of some interest to MIT, like maybe they're electronic composers or computer composers. And the point of that is that among all these research collections, if somebody commits to collecting this work, we don't all need to collect the same stuff, but together we are sure that somebody is collecting that opus and saving and taking care of it, in theory, for perpetuity. So I'm very proud of the fact that we have some of our MIT composers have given us manuscripts of their works. Just recently, I was looking at a manuscript of a work by John Harbison, who's our Pulitzer Prize winning faculty member, that had his annotations in red pencil and blue pencil, cuts and dynamic markings. So, that's not, that's like pretty unique. So I'm very fond of that as well. Other questions about any of this good stuff?
I don't necessarily have a question so much, Nina, as about the prized and historical collections. I definitely remember a couple of years back there was an open house of sorts with a lot of the historical collections, and there were definitely some beautiful pieces and some very old, phonograph players.
Yes.
And
yes,
an opportunity to do something like that again when we're back on campus, I think would be really great.
Well, thank you for that. And thank you for reminding me that I did not mention that we have a small but really fun collection of historical audio playback equipment. And it includes a Victrola that you have to wind up with a little handle, and a musical box. This is not the same as like when I was a kid, I had a jewelry box that played. This is a great big gorgeous wooden thing that you put flat discs that are I think they're about 15 inches, and it just sounds like elf music. It's just absolutely magical and beautiful. And we have a couple of different historical things that remind us that these are technologies, and that before the digital era, the ability to listen to music in your home was a rare privilege and something that people shouldn't take for granted. So thank you for that reminder, Allison. Other questions about any of these items or things? All right, last call. Welcome, Shirley. We're just wrapping up, actually.
Yeah, I was on earlier.
Oh, okay. Welcome back then.
Hi.
All right. Last call. Anybody? I think that I left it on this slide. Yes. There is my email address, Nina DM. Again, if you lose that, anywhere on the library's web page, you will see how to ask us questions. And any question that you send there, if it's about music, will find its way to me. I'm delighted that you came. I'm delighted to share this good stuff with you. And again, I look forward to seeing you in Building 14 when we're all back on campus. So thanks for coming and enjoy this beautiful afternoon.
Thanks, Nina.
Thank you so much, Nina.
Bye
That was
all.
great. Thank you so much. Have a great day.